Hello, I'm your host, Dustin Nguyen, and welcome to SPOTcast. I'm joined by my guests Leslie Hernandez.
Hi.
Maria Garcia.
Hey.
And Jahsua Jenkins.
Hello.
Jerryvon Amos, Aisha Harper, and their 2 children were driving to a babysitter after shopping at a family dollar store, and when a police car pulled them over. The police officers proceeded to turn off their body cams and dash cams. The police officers harassed the family, lied in their reports, admitted their threats to kill the women, and claimed they feared for their lives. Have body cams lost their purpose? This is SPOTcast. Who are body cams meant to protect, police or citizens?
Currently, I believe that body cameras are meant to protect the police because after frequent reports, we can see that the police officers use the cameras to either defend themselves and make the victims look like the evil ones.
I think that body cams were made to protect both police and citizens because, well, if something happens to a citizen, you get to see it on the dash cam, but if something happens to the police officer, you can also see it on a body cam. But recently, like Maria said, I think they've been made more to protect police officers.
I also think they were made to protect police officers because usually when body cam footage is used in courts, it's when there's a claim that an officer threatened somebody or abused somebody or used unnecessary violence. So I think they're used to provide evidence for the cops.
Do you think they should be punished more?
I definitely think they should be punished more because they're committing extreme crimes and they should be held to the same degree as any other person.
Definitely, because they're committing injustices and crimes just like any other person would. Just because they have a badge or they're said to be a police officer, I don't think that changes the fact that everyone should still have the same ground rules.
I think they should be punished just the same as a citizen because a law is made for everybody, not just citizens. Officers have to behave in the same way under the law as citizens, so if they break it, they should be punished just the same.
If an officer turns the camera off, should they be penalized regardless of their future actions?
They should definitely be penalized because they're pretty much tampering with evidence and they're changing the story. Even if they don't commit any crimes, they're pretty much just in case they do, they're trying to hide that.
Yes, I agree with Maria. I think that it's also tampering evidence, but if they did it now, they get away with it, who says they won't do it later in the future? So I think that they should be penalized if they turn off their cameras.
I think so too, because even if the case was successful or it wasn't, whether they found out the cop was wrong or they were doing the right thing, if you turn the body cam off, you're trying to hide something. Whether it was you killing somebody or it was you using unnecessary force when you have somebody already handcuffed. So if you turn it off, you don't want somebody to see something, and that's an immediate red flag. They should be punished.
Do you think these actions are subconsciously affected by the ethnicity of the victim?
Yes, I definitely think that the actions are subconsciously affected by the ethnicity of the victims. I feel like there's always going to be this internal bias when it comes to race because we live in the US, and a lot of the cops probably internalize that and just put it on, take it out on these victims because of their power.
100%, because if you look at the cases, I honestly don't think I need to explain or go into further detail. You can just see it from watching the news, and you see all of these cases. You see the type, who they use harder force on, and you can just see it.
I agree too. Usually when you see the news and hear these cases, it's most of the time it's African Americans or it's Hispanics. It's rarely Caucasian people.
Is saying I feared for my life a legitimate bailout for cops?
I don't think so. I feel like it's just an excuse that they know will work. And if they say they fear for their life, it's they were under threat, so they can take those actions even though they're irrational.
I don't think that saying I fear for my life is legitimate bailout, because they could say that with anything. Like in this case, the woman had a baby in her hands, and are you really going to fear for your life because somebody has a baby? I don't think that's a threat. So I think sometimes it's legitimate. Like if you do fear for your life, by all means you should act on it, but you can't just say that to get away with something.
Do you feel police officers target minorities? If so, how do you feel we can overcome this? If not, why not?
I definitely think police officers target minorities. Like as we see in the news, it's always African Americans or Hispanics that are being shot and killed for no reason. And to overcome this, maybe it could be stricter on who can become a police officer, and their training can be much more sophisticated than what it is right now.
Yes, I feel like police officers target minorities. Like I said earlier before, and like Josh said earlier before, they usually target African Americans and Hispanics, and you never see them use this much force on like Caucasian people. So I definitely think they target minorities, and I feel like we can overcome this if, like Maria said, we're more sophisticated and picky with who we actually get as officers and have them well trained.
I'm gonna say no and yes, because I don't think every individual officer targets them. I just think it's like something that they do in the force now, because it's not the same officer doing it every time. It's a different officer pretty much every case. So I feel like it's not being taught to them to do it. So like they're just, this person did it, I'm gonna do it. So I don't think they individually make the decision to target them. I just think that's just acceptable among them.
And that will do it for this episode of SPOTcast. I would like to thank my guests Jahsua, Leslie, and Maria. For Spot 127, I'm Dustin Nguyen.